Hello, and welcome to Scholarships 101, presented by Stand By Me NexGen. My name is Corey. I'll be your lecturer today. Thank you for joining our class. Let's begin. So, since this is a 101, we're going to start from the very beginning. But first, we have a couple of learning objectives that I want to get to, some things I hope you'll take away from our time together. I hope to help you understand the types of grants and scholarships that are available. I hope to offer tools and advice for finding college grants and scholarships. And I also hope to give you some tips on scholarship essay writing. So now that we know what we're going to be learning, let's go ahead and get into the basics. Grants and scholarships are the money that you do not need to pay back. They are free money. Loans, on the other hand, whether they are federal loans or they are private loans, must be paid back. But this typically is not done until after the student has completed their entire program of study. So there are two major types of grants and scholarships. There are need-based grants and scholarships, which we'll just say need-based awards. This is determined in part on information submitted on the FAFSA. And then there are merit-based awards, which are awarded based on things such as SAT score, GPA, skill set, achievements, accomplishments, non-financial criteria. Now I say awards, but on the screen it says need-based grants, merit-based scholarships, because traditionally that's how those types of awards were delivered. Grants were often need-based, scholarships were often merit-based. But now you're going to see some bleed between the two. There will be need-based scholarships, some of which we'll talk about today, and there are also merit-based grants. So you're going to see, the twain are meeting now. So let's talk about the fundamentals. Where does this money come from? The federal government is the main place where we think of financial aid coming from because we're familiar with the FAFSA, which we'll talk a little bit more about. The federal government will provide grants, they'll provide student loans, and they will provide limited scholarships. State governments also have aid to give, and especially the state of Delaware. The state of Delaware has incredible opportunities for students as far as grants and scholarships, which we're going to talk about today. The college and universities themselves are going to have aid in the form of scholarships most often, but also grants and in some cases loans. And then of course we've got the private donors, the individuals, the foundations, the corporations that are willing to give scholarships to needy and deserving students. So let's talk briefly about the federal grants. The federal Pell Grant is the main financial aid that students think of. It is a need-based award. It is just shy of $6,500 for the 21-22 academic year. Since it is need-based, not every student is going to be eligible, nor is every student who is eligible going to get the same amount. So it fluctuates again based on the need that the student demonstrates, which is determined by the FAFSA. There's also the Federal Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant, or the SEOG grant, which is anywhere from $100 to $4,000. Now, if you want more information on these grants in particular, or any source of federal student aid, whether it's loans or whether it's scholarships, check out studentaid.gov. From that website, you can also access the FAFSA, or the Free Application for Federal Student Aid, which is used to help determine eligibility for need-based federal funding programs, including grants such as the one on the screen, as well as loans. The FAFSA opens October 1st of the year before the aid is needed. So October 1st of 2021, the FAFSA opened for the fall of 22. In October of 22, it will open for the fall of 23. So it gives you about a year to get that application completed and submitted. So what are some things we want to know moving forward? When it comes to grants and scholarships, you want to think about, is there a GPA, a class rank, or SAT requirement? And if so, what is that requirement? Is this award renewable? And if it is, what do I have to do? What are the requirements? How can I get this money year to year? Is it need-based? Is there an income limit that I have to be paying attention to? And if so, how do I prove that I have that financial need? How many awards will there be? We're going to see that some have 1 or 2 awards given a year. Some have 30, 100 or more. So how many awards are there? What are my chances? What's the competition? And probably most importantly of all, what is the application process? When is the deadline? How do I work towards this award, and by when do I have to do that? So here's some things to know. Some things to do is find out how those scholarships and that grant aid can be used. Can it pay for books and supplies? Is it a tuition only award? Institutions are going to differ in how they apply outside money. Some schools may allow you to use scholarship funding for all your expenses. Some may dictate that it's for tuition only, or it's for books and fees only. The scholarship itself might dictate how that money is to be used. So make sure you understand going in, how can I use that funding? Also talk to the financial aid office about how your financial aid could be affected if you receive private or state aid. Now, your federal aid, your loans, your Pell Grant would not be adjusted because of outside funds, but your institutional aid, the money that comes from the school itself, may be adjusted if you're getting outside scholarships, if you're getting state aid. So things to keep in mind. Now, I said the state of Delaware is really, really good at offering aid to students, and they are. The bulk of what we're going to talk about today is coming from the state of Delaware. First, have to apply for a Delaware Higher Education Office student account. That is going to open up the world of Delaware scholarships to you students. You can create that account at delawarestudentssuccess.org/state. You get the point. You can see the thing there. Slashes, dashes. delawarestudentssuccess.org is where you're going to be able to find that a place to do the student account. Now, Delaware Student Success is going to be your scholarship source. It's going to be the place you're going to want to go daily to check on new scholarships, to make sure you're going on the right track towards your post-secondary career. It allows you to, again, create that account that we just saw about. It allows you to search for and research colleges. It allows you to search for, research, and apply for all of those scholarships. And it allows you to download checklists for not only grades 9 through 12, but even 7 and 8. So if you've got younger siblings, get them on this website so they know, what do I need to be doing every year in school to be prepared for what comes next. And you can do that as well. Even if you're a senior or halfway through the year, go ahead and check out those checklists. What do I need to be doing to stay on track? So delawarestudentssuccess.org. My favorite thing to do, not just that, is the scholarship compendium. Let me show you about that. Let me pull that up on the screen here. Be able to see that in just a second. So this is delawarestudentssuccess.org. This is the landing page. And as you can see here, it's got sections for students in every grade. Excellent resource. But what we're going to look at is come up here to resources. You're going to come all the way down here. There's a whole section on how to fund your education. I recommend checking that out and spending some time there. For our purposes, we're going to go straight to visit the DSS Scholarship Compendium. Now, this scholarship compendium used to be in book form. It was mailed to every high school senior in the state of Delaware, but they were finding that when it went to print, there were more scholarships coming in, and those scholarships wouldn't get in the book. So they started offering it online, and now they offer it exclusively online, but it's such a great tool for you. So not only can you enter keywords and search by name, you can come down here, scroll a little bit, and search by category. All of these categories are going to have multiple scholarships in there. So you can find things, again, based on academic and merit. If you're an athlete, if you're involved in community service, there's locational, depending on the county you live in. If you have a disability, if you want to look based on ethnicity or race, there's so many options on this website for you. They've made it incredibly easy, incredibly searchable. You can come down here a little farther, enter your email address, and be notified when deadlines are coming up, when new scholarships have been added. This is going to be an excellent resource for you to come to and check out scholarships. So I recommend making this a highly visited website because it's going to help you get money for college, whether you are planning to go to school in Delaware or whether you're planning to go to school out of Delaware. And we're going to look at some scholarships that can help you in both cases. So let's do that. We're obviously not going to be able to look at every scholarship that's available to Delaware students through delawarestudentssuccess.org or through any other resources, but we're going to kind of give you a sampling of what's available just to kind of whet your appetite for more of that scholarship money. So, State of Delaware offers several memorial scholarships in the name of somebody who's made an impact in Delaware. They are merit-based. and there are 4 awarded each year, 2 at UD, 2 at DSU. The application deadline is going to be February 25th of 2022. We're going to look at one of these in particular here in just a second. There's the Diamond State Scholarships. These 2 are merit-based. There are 30 of these awarded each year, same application deadline. We're going to look at some more details in a second. There's the Scholarship Incentive Program, also known as the ScIP grants. These are need-based, and the number of awards is determined by funding level. Talk a little bit more about that. Application deadline, a little bit later than the previous 2 above it. Have to have your FAFSA done by tax day of 2022, and then complete the ScIP application through Delaware Student Success by May 15th. We're going to talk about SEED at UD and Del Tech, which is changing in big and exciting ways. We're going to talk about Inspire, which has also had a great change recently. And then we're going to talk about a whole bunch of other things related to scholarships. So buckle in, because we have a lot to do. So this is a sample of a State of Delaware Memorial Scholarship, the Charles L. Hebner Memorial Scholarship. Again, that application is due by February 25th at 4:30. So you must have also filed your FAFSA and have a 1,000 combined score on the SAT or have the ACT equivalent. Now here's where it gets really specific, if it wasn't already. You must be majoring in humanities, social sciences, or political science, and the preference is going to be given to political science. This covers full tuition, room and board, fees, and books at UD and DSU. One goes to UD, one goes to DSU. It's also renewable up to 3 additional years if you maintain a minimum 3.0 GPA. So here is a full ride scholarship, 1 to UD, 1 to DSU, but as you can see, it's very specific. So while this is an enticing scholarship, if you are not studying one of those 3 majors, if your SAT score is not up to snuff, don't waste your time on the scholarship, because you are not going to get it. They're not going to give it to somebody who doesn't qualify. But if this looks like you, I definitely recommend doing this or one of the other memorial scholarships, again, available through DelawareStudentSuccess.org. Let's talk about the Diamond State Scholarships, which also are merit-based. As I said, there are approximately 30 of these offered each year, $1,250 per student per year. Also renewable for 3 additional years with a minimum 3.0 GPA. You have to have a higher SAT or ACT score, a 1290 on the SAT. You must enroll and attend full-time for any major in any state. So you don't have to be staying in Delaware. You just have to have been a Delaware high school student. So anywhere, any subject. And the application is due same time, same day, February 25th, 22 by 4:30. Let's talk about the ScIP grants. These are need-based. There's approximately 1,000 awards given each year based on the funding level, but the award amount is consistently $1,000. Have to have a 2.5 GPA, which is a B average. You must have created your Delaware Higher Education Office student account and then continue to update your enrollment info every year, because you can't get money for college unless they know you're in college. So students must be enrolled full-time in an undergraduate accredited program in Delaware, or enrolled in an accredited program out of state that is not offered in a Delaware public college, which would be UD, DSU, Del Tech. And the financial need threshold is based on the applicant pool. So while the award amount is $1,000 every year, and the amount of awards are based on funding level, the financial need threshold could change every year depending on who applies. So you may be eligible one year and then not eligible the next year, even though nothing has changed in your situation. But it doesn't mean you shouldn't continue to update your information in your student account, because this could be a potential $1,000 every year. So continue to work towards this scholarship if you are eligible for it, even if there's a chance you may not get it every year. Let's talk about SEED. SEED is an excellent Student Excellence Equals Degree scholarship. Delaware is famous for this scholarship, and they've just made some interesting and exciting changes to it, which we're going to talk a little bit about. So SEED is a full tuition scholarship for 10 semesters, one of the new changes, towards your associate's degree at either UD, their associate program, or at Del Tech. There's no separate application needed for the SEED scholarship. So potential 5 years worth of funding, and summer semesters are not included. They are freebies. So you can use your seed in the summertime, but it does not count towards your 10 semesters. So requirements: have to be a Delaware resident and graduate from a Delaware high school, a Delaware homeschool, or from a Delaware GED program. Now, some exceptions apply in that if you are attending Delmar High School but live in Maryland, you can still be eligible for seed based on your graduation from Delmar High School. This is also a new change. You used to have to be full-time for every semester, but now you only have to attend UD or Deltech full-time your first semester, and then you can be part-time and not lose your eligibility. However, you still only have the 10 semesters plus summer to get your college career done for the seed scholarship. High school students have to have a 2.5 GPA at graduation, which you must then maintain. That's not the same requirement for over 25-year-old students, which we'll talk a little bit more about on the next screen. Must complete the FAFSA, even though this is not a need-based scholarship. FAFSA still needs to be completed. And then you cannot have any violent felony convictions. It used to just say felony convictions, but they have now reworded it to be violent felony convictions. Like I said, SEED is just going through some very interesting changes, some of which were just announced this week. And I'm speaking to you from mid-November of 2021. So some of these changes that we are now aware of is that SEED is now not only just for your associate's degree, but it can also be for technical and trade education or workforce certifications through Delaware Tech or University of Delaware. So you can get non-degree education paid for by SEED. There's also a junior year option. If you have remaining semesters left over when you've completed your associate's degree or your trade education, you could potentially use that towards your junior year at University of Delaware or towards your junior year in some of the selected bachelor's degree programs at Delaware Tech. And there are plans to expand some of those bachelor's degree programs in the future. You're also allowed now to take a gap semester or a gap year. So it used to be you had to go into college right after high school to use SEED. You can now take a semester off. You can now take a year off and not lose your eligibility. Maybe you're going through school and you're a SEED student and you need to take a semester off or a year off. You can take time off and not lose your SEED eligibility. But your total time off cannot exceed 5 years maximum. As I alluded to a little bit ago, the credit hour threshold has been eliminated after your initial semester. So you used to have to do 24 credits per year to maintain your SEED eligibility. Now you just have to be full-time, 12 credits or more your first semester. And then after that, you can take fewer or more than full-time and still maintain your eligibility. Also, as I said a little while ago, Delawareans 25 and older now qualify for SEED Plus. Mostly the same requirements as high school students, but things like the GPA requirement are going to be a little different. So it opens it up to adult students to be able to get tuition-free education at Deltech and at UD. So as we know more details, as things are starting to be written in stone, we're going to update our coverage. So keep your eyes here, keep your eyes to Deltech, to UD for more information about SEED as it is changing and expanding to help more Delawareans. So while we're kind of talking about SEED as we segue out, Wilmington University has a STAR scholarship for SEED graduates. So this isn't a scholarship that you're going to be eligible for right now, but if you get through your associates at UD or Deltech and you want to go on to Wilmington University, they have a scholarship that specifically designed for those SEED graduates. It allows you to attend Wilmington University with half tuition. Now, fees and books are not covered by this scholarship. You could use other sources of financial aid, but your tuition would be half because you are a SEED student at UD or Deltech. Now, eligibility. You have to have continued to be a SEED eligible student throughout your associate's degree. And then you have to have earned your associate's degree from Deltech or UD with a minimum 3.25 GPA. So SEED only requires 2.5 minimum throughout your education, But in order to be qualified for the STAR scholarship at WilMU, you have to have graduated with a 3.25, so quite a bit higher. Then you have to enroll at and attend classes at Wilmington University within 6 months after completing your associate's degree under the SEED program. So you say 6 months. If I get done in May, I'm going to go right in September. Lots of students in the associate's degree program, at least at Delaware Tech, will graduate in December. So this gives them the chance to graduate in December and then enroll in Wilmington University for the following fall and not lose their eligibility. Of course, you have to submit all of your additional documents beside your admissions application and your FAFSA to WilMU, and then satisfy all of their admissions standards, and again, be enrolled in a degree-seeking program. And then you must be enrolled full-time in the fall and the spring semesters. So Inspire has changed a little bit too. It is now a full tuition scholarship for 8 semesters, so the equivalent of 4 years at Del State. It is not applicable for summer semesters, so you cannot use Inspire funds during the summer. Now, you must be a Delaware high school graduate. You also must have a minimum 2.75 GPA, so a little bit higher than the SEED requirement. Also must be taking a full-time course load. Full-time is typically 12 credits, which typically equals 4 classes a semester. So 4 classes a semester, 8 classes a year, and you'd be considered full-time. Also must have no felony convictions. And then they add a community service element. So you must complete 10 hours of community service per semester to maintain your eligibility. And then again, the FAFSA is required. And then there is a separate Inspire application, which is due by March 15th. So if you want more information about Inspire, you can go to the admissions page of Del State's website. A little bit more information about Inspire before we move on. It is not open to undocumented students, whereas SEED is open to undocumented students at Del Tech and at the UD Associated Arts program only. So let's back up a little bit. If you're interested in SEED, you can obviously attend UD, but it has to be the Associated Arts program. You cannot be pursuing your bachelor's degree at UD. You cannot be attending main campus. You cannot be living on campus. You have to do the Associated Arts program, and those classes are based on Delaware Tech campuses. So you're not a Delaware Tech student, but you're taking your classes at Delaware Tech. So just a little bit of a backup there. But so SEED, open to undocumented students. Inspire is not open to undocumented students. However, Del State does accept the Dreamer Scholarship for DACA students. So you could visit thedream.us for more information about that. This is brand new information too, hot off the presses, the Delaware Foster Care Tuition Waiver Program. So beginning in spring of 2022, Delaware youth who have spent all or some of their teenage years in foster care will be eligible to have their college tuition waived at Delaware public in-state schools. This includes University of Delaware, Del State, and at Delaware Tech. Tuition, fees, and books are included in this program. Additionally, year-round on-campus room and board, including the meal plan, is covered for full-time students at UD and at Del State. So if you have spent any time in foster care as a youth in the state of Delaware, visit kids.delaware.gov for more information about this program. This could be a game changer for kids who have been in foster care during their teenage years. Salisbury University, just to the south of us, they have the Good Neighbor Scholarship. This provides $6,000 annually for residents of 13 Mid-Atlantic and Northeastern states, as well as Washington, D.C. And of course, we as Delawareans are included in that. It is renewable for up to 8 semesters. So again, 4 years. If you transfer in to Salisbury University from another college or university, you can get it for 6 semesters. And if you graduated from Delaware Tech and then you transfer in to Salisbury University, you get an extra $1,000 a year. So you must be a new Salisbury University student, whether you're a freshman or whether you transfer in from another institution, must maintain full-time, first-time bachelor's degree enrollment. Again, 12 credits is full-time, 4 classes a semester. And so you have to complete 24 credits per academic year. So again, 4 classes in the fall, 4 classes in the spring, 8 classes total, 24 credits. That would make you a full-time student. And then also maintain satisfactory academic progress to make sure that you get the scholarship annually. There's no GPA requirement listed, so you'd want to find out from Salisbury what does satisfactory academic progress look like. So if you have more questions, if Salisbury University is something you're interested in, either now or in the future, check out their admissions website or email them directly at admissions@salisbury.edu. So we just kind of talked about some of the institutional scholarships that you can get at UD, Del Tech, DSU, Salisbury University. Colleges and the career schools and universities, they have their own sources of aid in many cases, and they will also determine the amount of federal funding that you get based on a range of criteria, as well as, of course, their own institutional aid. They may require you to complete what's called the College Scholarship Service, or the CSS profile. Now, this is not something that every college is going to require. It is lengthy. It is intrusive, even though that's not really a positive word. It asks a lot of information. It takes a lot of time. So don't do the CSS profile unless you have been asked to do it by one of your schools, because it's not something that's going to get you a leg up if the school doesn't require it. But if they do require it, you're going to have to complete that CSS profile, and it can be time consuming. Now, not only will the schools determine how much aid you get, schools are going to differ widely on how much aid they can provide. Private colleges tend to offer more money than the public colleges. So public colleges may cost less, but they may not have as much aid to provide you as the private college. So you may have a $20,000 a year public school and a $40,000 a year private school. You might say, oh, well, the private school's out of my reach. But after all your aid is calculated, it might cost you less out of pocket to attend the private school than it would the public school. So keep that in mind as you're applying to colleges and as you're working towards financial aid and you're thinking about scholarships, because that school that costs more money at the start of the day might actually cost you less money by the time you get through it. So in any case, public college, private college, cheap, expensive, talk to admissions or financial aid about scholarships you can apply for, grants that may be available, loans you could take out. Ask for all sources of aid that might be available. And if you're not sure how much that college might cost you, some colleges have a net price calculator on their financial aid websites, or you can go right to the federal government's net price calculator at collegecost.ed.gov. Find out how much does this college cost and what might it cost me after my financial aid is taken care of. So let's talk briefly about the academic common market. I am not an expert on this, but your high school counselor is going to be really, really knowledgeable about this awesome program. So if your undergraduate or graduate degree program is not offered by a public college in Delaware, you may be eligible for in-state tuition at a participating college in one of the 15 states which comprise the Southern Regional Education Board. So you must be enrolled at that school or have been accepted into a program to apply for the academic common market. So if you have more questions, you can check out delawarestudentsuccess.org or go right to your counselor. But essentially, let's say you want to study petroleum engineering. Delaware doesn't have petroleum engineering as a major because we're not a big petroleum engineering place. But let's say that Georgia did, and they have a program, and you're like, that's what I want to study. I want to be a petroleum engineer. You could potentially, if Georgia is in the program and if the school is in the program, you could study petroleum engineering in Georgia as an in-state student. But if Delaware decided to offer a program in petroleum engineering, you would lose your in-state status at Georgia. So it can get confusing. It changes quite a bit. So ask your counselor about the academic common market and if it might be right for you. The undocumented students, we briefly talked about you as far as you being eligible for SeED. There are resources available to you. So contact the financial aid office at all the schools that you're interested in, that you're applying to, and let them know that you are going to need assistance in applying for financial aid. So again, SeED scholarship is open to you at UD and at Del Tech. And while you're looking for scholarships online, many scholarships will tell you in the description if they require citizenship, or maybe even if they're specifically designed for undocumented students. So there is an undocumented student section on DelawareStudentSuccess.org. So I encourage you to check that out. Private scholarships, we talked about that. When we think of private scholarships, we think about, individuals, corporations, things like that. So we've talked about some state scholarships. We've talked about institutional scholarships. Private scholarships, you're going to find them on the Delaware Scholarship Compendium right alongside a lot of those state scholarships. We looked at that website earlier, DelawareStudentSuccess.org. Delaware Scholarship Compendium, again, it's going to have local, national, state, private scholarships. You can find them by alphabet, you can find them by scholarship name, by deadline, and of course, as we saw, you can search them by category. Scholarships.DelawareStudentSuccess.org. Bookmark it. Also, another scholarship compendium is the Delaware Community Foundation Scholarship Compendium. It lists over 80 scholarships annually, and its application, I've been told, is going live in early December. So delcf.org/scholarships, another great source of scholarships for Delaware students. Another place you should check is with your employer. Students, if you're working, ask your job if they have any money for scholarships, if they do tuition reimbursement or tuition assistance. Parents, grandparents, ask your employers if there's any money available for your children, your grandchildren to go to school. If you're involved in a community organization, whether it's a moose, an elk, a lion, a bear, whatever kind of animal you identify with, maybe your organization has money. My great-grandfather died in World War II. Obviously, I never met him, but he was a Mason before he passed away. Because he was a Mason in the 30s and 40s, I got $500 a year to go to college from the Masons, even though I myself am not a Mason. So you can use tenuous connections to get money in some cases. So check with your community organization. Check with local merchants, check with service groups, and ask about scholarship opportunities. Do not be afraid to ask people for money for college. And then you've got a resource right at your fingertips, students, in your high school counselor. They are going to have long lists of scholarships at the national level, at the state level, the county level, the town level, even sometimes at the community level. So ask your scholarship or ask your counselor for scholarship opportunities. And in any case, don't pay for scholarship information. I told you about some places to look. The internet is the #1 free source for scholarships. So in addition to your jobs, your community connections, your counselor, also go online and search, but don't pay for anything. If you're being asked to provide a credit card or bank account information or anything like that, don't do it. We're not paying to play here. Scholarship information should be free. And online, whether you search Google or whether you check out some of the websites we talked about, or one of the websites I'm going to talk about here in a minute, you can search based on major, you can search based on your GPA, your ethnicity or your nationality or that of your parents. You can search on your religion, interest and activities, and even on your location. As I said, traditionally scholarships were merit-based, but merit doesn't necessarily mean how well you do in school. It can be based on who you are or what you're interested in. So go out there and be specific. I work today with some students who are independent because they've kind of been abandoned by their parents. There's probably scholarships out there. I worked with a girl one time who had worked in a factory and wore compression socks. So she applied for a compression sock scholarship. There's all kinds of money out there. You just got to go out and find it. And you do that by being specific in your search. When you're looking for scholarships, again, be specific. Look based on things that interest you. What are your hobbies? What are your aspirations? And read carefully, because a scholarship may look really good to you, but you don't want to waste your time on it if you don't qualify for it. We looked at the Charles L. Hebner scholarship. Great scholarship, full ride. But if you're not going to UD or DSU, and if you're not studying one of the 3 required majors, you don't want to waste your time on that scholarship, because they're not going to give it to you because you seem like a nice person. So that part of that is understanding the rules and the deadlines. What do I have to do? Who do I have to be to qualify for this scholarship? And if I do qualify, what is the deadline and how much time do I have? And then apply for as many scholarships as you can. Now, you're like, wait a minute, Corey, you said be specific and don't waste time. Now you're telling me to do as many as I can. Yes, but understand who you are, what you like, where you want to go in life, and then use that to determine these are the scholarships that I think I can have a shot at, and then apply for as many of them as possible. Additionally, don't skip the small stuff. We're always told don't sweat the small stuff, but in scholarship world, don't skip the small stuff. Those $100, $250, $500,000 scholarships can really add up. I was told by a counselor the other day that there was a $1,000 scholarship that the school was promoting from a local service provider, and nobody signed up for that scholarship because they thought $1,000, what's that going to do? So that $1,000 went unspent, and I can probably bet that that service provider did not provide that scholarship again to that school. So don't skip the small stuff, because while everybody's going for the big ones, the 25,000s, the 50,000s, the full rides, you can spend your time getting these little ones and watching your little scholarships pile up, while the people who are waiting in vain for the big ones end up with nothing. So be specific. Make sure you qualify for the scholarships that you're actually applying for by understanding the rules, and then get as much money as you can. Now, this list in front of you is not an exhaustive list. There are so many scholarship resources out there, but I'm going to focus on the top two because they are my favorite for years running. Fastweb.com and scholarships.com operate in much the same way, where you go on, you create a student profile, and the things that you put into your profile are going to help curate a list of scholarships for you. So you don't necessarily have to do the searching. It asks you a whole bunch of questions, and based on the answers to those questions, it pulls scholarships together from its repository and drops them in front of you. So you've got scholarships for which you should qualify of all ranges of low to high, and that's what you should focus on. So I like those two scholarships, but by all means, check out the rest of these scholarship resources. But I think FastWeb, scholarships.com, and DelawareStudentSuccess.org are going to be a great starting place for you for scholarships. So let's talk about the nasty bits, the scholarship and the application essay. Yes, you've got to write the essays. Again, remember I told you this is a 101. This is like a class. You're going to have to do some homework. But it can be easy. We're going to talk to you how to make it a little easier. You want to put your best foot forward. When you're doing these applications, when you're doing these essays, put your best foot forward. And you do that by making sure that your essays are well written, thoroughly edited, and properly formatted. So let's take that in reverse order. If you're using a word processor like Microsoft Word, the industry standard, the formatting is done for you automatically. So you don't really have to do anything with formatting. The next step, a little bit more labor intensive, is thoroughly edited, but there's a spell check and a grammar check. So you do a spell check and a grammar check, and it's going to catch any mistakes that you've made, and you correct them as needed. The well-written part, that is going to be on you. You're definitely going to want to take some time and think about the questions they're asking. Think about the prompt, jot some notes down, brainstorm, and then put that together. You definitely want your essay to sound good, look good, and be good. And one of the ways you're going to do that is to not use a generic essay. Don't use the same essay. Don't answer the questions in the same way every time, because there's going to be some nuance. Even if you're experiencing the same questions and the same prompts, don't give them 100% the same essay, because you want to follow the instructions provided for each scholarship. Now, use a template by all means. You don't want to start fresh every time if you are being asked the same questions, the same prompt. Adults in the room, if you've done cover letters, you know that you're not going to take one cover letter and give it to every employer, because the different jobs are going to require a little bit of a different description of you. In the same way, these scholarship essays are going to be the same. You don't want to give the same essay to every scholarship, because it's probably going to want to know a little bit different information, even if the questions and the prompt seem to be the same. So have a template, but don't use the same thing. Because again, these donors want to know who you are and why you're deserving of this money, but you want to make sure that you're answering the question in the way that they are presenting it. So use the prompt, but let them know who you are and why you're most deserving of their scholarship. Don't be afraid to give them a sob story. But again, don't give everybody the same sob story if they're not asking for the same sob story. So how can we make sure that we're doing a good job? Again, that well-written, that well-rehearsed, best foot forward. Start well in advance. Don't wait until the deadline to write your essay. Some of us work really well under pressure. We like to kind of have that crunch time, but if your essay is due at midnight and it's 11 o'clock and you haven't started it yet, you've probably waited too long. So start well in advance, because that's going to help you to do a well-written, well-thought-out essay that is thoroughly edited and properly formatted. So rough drafts are not just for English class. You might want to consider doing that whole process that they teach you in English and writing class. There's a reason they're teaching you that process. Again, identify what you need to do, brainstorm, note take, rough draft, rewrite, second draft, rewrite, and then maybe a third draft if necessary before the final draft. So give yourself time to do the drafts before finalizing your essay. Don't just fire something off because you want to step away from it and think, oh, there's something else I wanted to say there. And another thing that you want to do is to create a support team, which is why you need to start well in advance. Include parents, include teachers, include friends or other family members that you trust their judgment. Let them read your draft, let them discuss it with you and offer their insight and suggestions, because they may see things about you or around you a little differently than you do. And if people know that you are working on scholarship applications, on scholarship essays, maybe them being part of your team can allow them to keep you motivated and accountable. So, like I said, you've got some homework. If you haven't done the FAFSA, do the FAFSA. And I'm going to show you here in a moment our website, standbymede.org, and show you how you can make an appointment with us to help you complete your FAFSA. Also going to want to do your Delaware Higher Education Office student account at delawarestudentsuccess.org, and then go through the compendium and look up all those scholarships for which you apply and knock them out by the deadline, which I kind of jumped ahead there. Remember to submit all applications, whether it's the FAFSA, whether it's follow-up documentation with the schools, whether it's scholarship essays, things like that. Submit them by the deadline. Scholarship essays typically have a hard and fast deadline. If you don't submit it by the deadline, you've missed your chance. So don't miss those deadlines. If you have any questions at any time about how do I complete my financial aid, how is my financial aid going to be used, what financial aid is available to me, is my financial aid ready to go? Ask your financial aid office at any and all of the schools that you're interested in and with whom you're working, and ask them questions. So, speaking of questions, if you have them, there's my email, cdunt@standbymede.org. I would love to answer your questions, help point you in the right direction. And as I said, I want to show you our website. If you want to make an appointment for FAFSA completion, get out of the student compendium, you're going to go to standbymede.org. Stand By Me is a Delaware nonprofit that is a partnership of the United Way and the state. We offer free financial empowerment and literacy services. The main thing we do is offer free financial coaching. So whether you want to get on a budget or improve your credit or reduce your debt, increase your savings, get a house, go to college, we can help you totally free. But for our purposes, here's how you make an appointment with us for FAFSA completion. You're going to go to Programs, come down here to Stand By Me NexGen, College Funding Project. We're going to let that load. And once it loads, taking its sweet old time to load, you're going to come down here. It says, yes, you can pay for college. We'll show you how. Come down here and register for upcoming events. And then you'll see FAFSA Completion Assistant Virtual. We're doing it over Zoom. If you are a Spanish speaker or you are more comfortable in Spanish, we offer these appointments in Spanish with our bilingual facilitator. So you would click on that, and then it's going to show you all of the available days and times. You select the day and time that works for you, and it will help you to make an appointment with one of our facilitators on Zoom, and they will get you taken care of, whatever your needs may be. So thank you for bearing with me through Scholarships 101. I hope we've accomplished the learning objectives for you. I hope you learned some things, but I also hope that it sparked some more questions. And again, feel free to contact me Feel free to make an appointment, and I hope to see you around the quad. Have a good day.